Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashiva Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankarupeda Machittam Panki Kritamabhudhyaya Kinkariyasya Samaya Shankaracharya Mashraye Prahladavara Devo Yonasimha Paroharihi Nisimhopasakam Nityam Tam Nasimhagurum Bhaje Sri Satchidananda Shivabhinavya Nasimha Bharatyabhidan Yatindran Vidyanidhin Mantranidhin Sadatmanishtan Bhaje Manava Shambhurupan Sadatmadhyana Niratam Vishagebhyah Parangmukham Naumi Shastreshu Nishnatam Chandrasekhara Bharatim Vivekinam Mahapragyam Dhairyodarya Kshamanidhim Sada Vinava Purvam Tam Vidyatirtha Gurum Bhaje Bharati Karunapatram Bharati Padabhushanam Bharati Padamarudham Bharati Tirthamashtrige Vidya Vinaya Sampannam Beetaragam Vivekinam Vande Vedanta Tattvagyam Vidushekara Bharatim Om Sharada Sharadam Bhoja Vadana Vadanam Bhuje Sarvada Sarvadasmakam Sannidhim Sannidhim Kriyat Sukham Nityam Swaprakasham Vyapakam Namarupayoho Adhishtanam Buddhyavodyam Buddher Drikyattu Nirmalam Aparam Sarva Vedanta Vedyam Pratyak Param Maha Tadevaham Namattonyat Itime Nishchita Matihi Harihi Om. So, we were looking at the answers given by the Siddhanti to the Aika Bhavika Matavadi, which is the one offshoot of Purva Mimamsa that argues that within one birth itself it is possible to overcome samsara uh, and ensure that there are no other future births. So, and to explain how this is possible, the Purva Pakshi had come up with an elaborate scheme how through karma itself moksha is possible. What he had argued was that if you don't do nitya naimittika karma, you will get a particular kind of papa called pratyavaya, and that pratyavaya papa will produce dukkha, and to experience that dukkha or sorrow, you will have to take another birth. So therefore, the mumukshu, the person who is desirous of liberation, must necessarily perform nitya naimittika karma, because the non-performance of nitya naimittika karma will lead to the production of dukkha. This was the first argument. The second argument was that he must necessarily give up the kamya karma, because doing kamya karma is to achieve some material or spiritual benefit. Spiritual benefit meaning going to Swargaloka, etc. Material benefit meaning wealth, cattle, servants, rains, things like that. Things either that contribute to his physical and emotional, mental well-being in this world, or after death, taking to a higher loka. If he has desires in any of these, he can do kamya karma to achieve those desires. Now, the result of this kamya karma will be the punya phalam, and this punya phalam will produce that result. Now, the Purva Pakshi had argued that the mumukshu who is desirous of liberation should not do kamya karma, because by doing kamya karma, necessarily punya will be produced, and that punya will give rise to another birth, and therefore, in order to avoid a subsequent birth to experience the result of punya karma, the mumukshu must avoid kamya karma. So this was the second leg. The third leg was nishiddha karma. Nishiddha karma are those karmas that if you do, papa will be created. Things which have been prohibited in the Shastras. Things like lying, stealing, engaging in violent activities towards other beings, other human beings or animals, any of those things. All of these things are nishiddha karma, which means they have been prohibited by Shastra. Now, if the mumukshu does nishiddha karma, that performance of nishiddha karma will produce papa phalam, and that papa phalam will produce dukkha. So to experience the dukkha, he may have to take another birth. So therefore, to avoid birth to experience the dukkha of papa produced by nishiddha karma, instead it is better not to do nishiddha karma itself. It must be avoided at all costs. So that is the third leg. Do not do nishiddha karma. And the final leg was do prayashchitta karma for any kind of papa that has been produced in his previous life. So and this prayashchitta karma is of two types. One is the sadharana prayashchittam and another is the asadharana prayashchittam. Now, where you know that you have already committed a particular papa in this life and you want to repent or seek forgiveness for that papa, to avoid the result of the papa, you can do a prayashchitta karma that has been specifically sanctioned by the Shastras. So the Shastras will say, if this particular papa has been done, to avoid the result of this papa, do this particular japa or homa or do this particular karma to as a repentance or a prayashchittam for the papa that you are aware of. So this is called asadharana prayashchittam or unique prayashchittam. Then there is a general prayashchittam where you do not know what papa you have committed. Then this could be because of something that has been done unknowingly or some papa that has been done in a previous birth. So either unknowingly in this birth or not knowing what you have done in the previous birth. If you want to avoid the result of that papa from fructifying into dukkha, and that dukkha being the cause for another birth to experience the dukkha, you must do this sadharana prayashchitta for things that you don't know you have done. For all the papa karma that you are not aware of, but you have done those. And this can be like nama japa, etc. Or Ganga Snana, or there are many such things that the Shastra itself says. It says that if you are not aware of what Papa Karma you've done, do these things. In general, this will help avoid or overcome the ill effects of the Papa Karma that has been performed previously. So these are the four legs. Now by doing these things, you can avoid the results. You can avoid another birth to experience the result. Now, this much the Purva Pakshi had said. Now, what we had seen previously was that the argument that the Purva Pakshi had made is incorrect. This is what the Siddhanti is saying. Why? The Nitya Naimittika karma, the Purva Pakshi had said, the performance of Nitya Naimittika karma brings no benefit, but the non-performance brings up a papa. Now the Siddhanti is arguing the performance of Nitya Naimittika karma does bring Swarga Phala. Why? Because the non-performance cannot produce a result. Because a cause has to be an existent cause for it to produce a existent effect. Now this papa that the Purva Pakshi alleges, that is the result of the non-performance, this papa is an existent thing. It is created, he is saying. So the effect is in existence. Now if the effect is in existence, it must be necessarily produced from an existent cause. Because the non-existent cannot produce something existent. Something cannot come from nothing. This is a universal law. So, and this applies to Punya Papa also. Not just the worldly things, but it also physical things. But it also applies to spiritual things like Punya and Papa also. Punya and Papa are existent things. And for those existent things to have come into effect, they must be the product of some existent cause. Now, the non-performance of a karma is of the nature of absence, because if you don't do something, what is the outcome? The outcome is the absence of something, absence of action. So how can the absence of action produce a existent result of papa? So therefore, to say that the non-performance of Nitya Naimittika karma produces pratyavaya is first of all wrong. So if the non-performance of Nitya Naimittika karma produces no result, because an absent thing cannot produce anything, and if what the Purva Pakshi says is true, that the performance does not produce any result, performance of Nitya karma does not produce a result, if that is true, then performance produces no result, non-performance produces no result. So why is the Shastra prescribing Nitya Naimittika karma? Because both the performance and the non-performance produces no result. So it is a useless thing. If the Purvapakshi statement that the performance of Nityanaimittika karma produces no result were true, then it would lead to a big problem for the Purvapakshi, which is Shastra Anarthakya Prasangaha. That is, it will lead to the situation where the Shastra or the Vedas, which are ultimately the source of Sanatana Dharma, the Vedas would end up prescribing something which is of no use, which does not produce any result. And even the non-performance also doesn't do any result. So what is the point of saying it? The Shastra can simply have kept quiet. Therefore, it must necessarily follow that there is Swargaphala from the production of from the performance of Nitya Naimittika karma also. This much we had seen. Now, the second thing that we were about to start, we are going to start discussing. Let us take a look at that quickly. So I'm going to share my screen. If I'm able to, let's see if I'm able to share the screen on this thing. अपि च इच्छाभावमात्रेण सञ्चितं काम्यकर्म न फलाय कल्पते इति चेत् तर्हि अशुभकर्मणोऽपि फलं न कस्यचिदपि सम्भवेत्। अशुभकर्मफले दुःखे कस्यापि इच्छा न nudeyaत्. Now, what is the problem by saying that by giving up the desire for punya phala, you can avoid punya? If that were true, then everybody would want to avoid the result of papa phala also. So they can say, I hereby do not give up the desire for papa karma phala. So therefore, I am freed from all sin. Will that be true? Just by saying that I want to avoid dukkha, can I say that dukkha will never come to me? Who wants to have dukkha? Everybody will want to avoid dukkha only. So the ichha for dukkha is not possible for anybody at all. So everybody has the ichha abhava, the absence of desire for papa. That being the case, there is no possibility of anyone having the desire for dukkha, but despite that, they will get dukkha. Why? Because they have done papa karma. So merely trying to avoid the ichha for dukkha, you cannot give up dukkha. Similarly, by avoiding the ichha for sukha, you cannot give up sukha also. This is the other argument. Ashubha karma phale dukkhe kasyapi ichha nudaya. Who will have the desire for dukkha? Nobody will. तस्मात् ज्ञानाभावे कर्मफलाभावः न केनचिदपि उपायेन सम्भवति. Therefore, in the absence of jnana, one cannot avoid karma phala by any means whatsoever. Avashyam cha kritam karma swaphale swaphalam dadyadiva. So, the action that has been performed will necessarily produce result. There is no way to avoid that. Topic number 103. Jnanam vina karma phalam na nashyate. कर्मानुष्ठान काले निष्कामस्य पुरुषस्य फलेच्छाभावात् कर्मफलाय न कल्पते इति वेदांत निश्चयः यथा तथैव ऐकभविकवादे कर्मानुष्ठान अन्तरमपि यस्य पुरुषस्य संचितकर्मफल इच्छा निवर्तते तस्य मुमुक्षोः कर्मफलं न जायते यति युक्तं पूर्वं तद् वेदांत सिद्धांत अनभिज्ञतयैव उक्तम्. Now, the Purvapakshi had tried to justify this weird position by saying, in the Vedanta Siddhanta, when you are performing the karma, if you are a Nishkama Purusha, in your Sankalpa, you can say, I do not have the desire for phala, there is no desire for phala for me, therefore, this karma will not produce a result. In the same way, the Aikabhavika Vadi says, in my system, after the performance of karma, I can drop the desire for the no result of the karma. Just like you are saying, when performing the karma, if you don't have the desire for it, it will not produce a result. Similarly, after performing the karma, I say that when I drop the desire for the result will not come. This was the Purvapakshi's justification. What is good for you, the Vedanti, must be good for me, the Aikabhavikavadi also. He was trying to justify it somehow. Now, Nishaladasa is saying, you are making the statement because you haven't understood our Siddhanta. Without understanding our Siddhanta, you are saying we say that. We don't say that. What do we say? Phala abhisandhyana sandhi anabhisandhi purvakam kritavatah ubhayorapi karma avashyam phalam dadatyeva. See, your statement that we say simply by not having the desire for the result, I can avoid the result. Vedanta is not saying that. Whether you desire the result or don't desire the result, right? And you perform a karma, in either way, that karma will produce a result. Your desire or non-desire for it stands, does not make one iota of difference. Tatra निष्कामनया अनुष्ठितं कर्म मुमुक्षोः चित्तशुद्धिमात्रस्य kshetram phalam janaye. So why do we say you should do karma in nishkama manner? What is the purpose of nishkama karma phala, nishkama karma performance? The Bhagavad Gita talks about karmanyevabhikaraste, karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You should do nishkama phala. You don't have the right to the results of action. Doesn't it say all these things? Nasradasa is saying, yes, the Bhagavad Gita says, but you have not, that does not mean that by simply doing Nishkama karma, that karma will produce no result. No. All it means is that by doing Nishkama karma, the result will not be the result of Kamya karma. Nishkama karma will also produce a result. Kamya karma will also produce a result. Nishkama karma will produce chitta shuddhi as the result. Kamya karma will produce that kamya vastu as a result. If you do sandhya vandanam in a nishkama manner, it will produce chitta shuddhi. If you do sandhya vandanam saying, by doing this, I want to go to Swargaloka, you will go to Swargaloka. In one case, it is nishkama sandhya vandanam. In another case, it is sakama sandhya vandanam. The same karma by the sankalpa becomes nishkama or sakama. Nishkama does not mean nishphala. Nishkama only means that you don't have the desire for a material result from it, but it will produce the spiritual benefit of chitta shuddhi. It will purify its mind. But the karma will not be nishphala. It will produce a result. फल अभिसन्धिपूर्वकम् अनुष्ठितं सकामस्य कर्म भोगरूपमेव फलं प्रयच्छति न तु चित्तशुद्धिं. Now, if you do a phala abhisandhi means if you do a karma with the desire, abhisandhi means the desire for the phala, that karma becomes a sakama karma and it will produce the result of bhoga, but not chitta shuddhi. निष्कामनया अनुष्ठितं कर्म मुमुक्षोः सत्त्वशुद्धि श्रवणादिद्वारा अपरोक्ष ज्ञानं जनयति न तु काम्यफलम्. But निष्काम कर्म for the mumukshu will produce chitta. Sattva shuddhi means chitta shuddhi, purification of the mind. It will give you the opportunities for shravana. It will give you the opportunity to meet a guru, and through that it will lead to aparoksha jnana, but it will not produce the kamya phala. Nishkamanaya kritamapi karma shravanadi abhavadva karanantaradva anutpanna jnanasya anachitopi bhogarupa phalam prayacchatyeva iti vedanta siddhanta. Now, the karma will produce, nishkama karma will, now suppose if there is no shravana, or if there is some other, due to some other reason, it does not produce jnana because of some pratibandhaka. Now, that karma will, even if you don't desire it, it will lead to bhogarupa phalam also. If it does not produce chitta shuddhi, it will lead to bhogarupa phalam. But if you do it with the intensity of nishkama, I really do not want the results, then it will definitely produce nishkama phalam. Tasmat jnana bhave phalam adatva naiva karma kshiyate. So therefore, without producing some result, either chitta shuddhi or bhoga, karma will not be exhausted. With this, we will bring this class to a close. Harihi Om. Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om.